7:14 on this Back to the Future day. I finally got him in here. Senator Scott Flippo.
Is it the future already?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Who would have ever thought in 1985 that we'd be building bridges with turn lanes? Who would know?
Dale,
Flabbergasted.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless. With the efficiency that I think the citizens are used to our government working with, I think that a lot of them would just be awestruck by that. I know I was.
Yeah.
And I've driven that bridge.
Did you notice it?
You know, I think it kind of like the Yankees. You know, you focus on the pinstripes.
Uh-huh.
And so I was looking at this nice bridge, and I think, boy, this is
it's a nice bridge.
And it needed to be replaced. And so, for the listeners that might not know what we're talking about the bridge in Black Rock.
Yeah.
And
the old bridge was a WPA pre-World War II bridge.
Yep.
I mean, a 47 Chevy would fit on it fine.
And we could agree that bridge needed to be replaced.
It needed to be replaced, yeah.
But the question that we have is, did it warrant 4 lanes and a turning lane?
Yeah, and my point, I talked about this Saturday in Little Rock when we were down there for the Tea Party event. Nobody notices. And the thing is, who signs the contract? Because, we can build this bridge. Let's say they got 5 bids. Well, let's say that bridge is the lowest bid. How much money could we have saved by not putting the turn lane on there? Because there's no way, if Interstate 555 progresses in the next 30 years, they're going to have to do something, because you've got the railroad to the north of the highway, probably the distance from here to Hardee's, from that highway to the railroad that runs right through Portia on the north side. Then you got the backwaters of the Black River right there. So you're going to have to build viaducts up to get over. And so what was so funny is when I crossed that, I thought, that bridge had a turn lane. And so I filmed it coming back. I came back the same way from Nashville. I came back through Portia. And sure enough, Portia, now they're getting a nice 5-lane highway through there. They needed a wider highway.
And they did.
And it's still under construction, but still the old highway is still the main route. You come across the 2 little narrow bridges. They're not the real big structural bridges. They're just the small creek bridges. 2-lane highway, and then all of a sudden it fans out, and there's a sign that says, slower traffic, keep right. So you've got 2 lanes going west into Black Rock up the bridge, a turn lane, and the other lanes that go back east towards Portia. Well, 1 lane comes down, 2 lanes go to 1. They merge because there's only 1 lane on the other end of the bridge at Black Rock. And then somebody said, well, what about it? Maybe it's for emergencies. Well, if the ambulance is going uphill towards Black Rock in that left lane and somebody's ready to turn left from Black Rock to the come and go right there, boom, you got to head on. So it can't be that.
Yeah, and you and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, and I've still got to speak to somebody at the highway department because I was thinking, and said, there's got to be some kind of legitimate reason for a turning lane on this bridge. I mean, certainly that didn't happen by accident.
And so my question is, who approves the contract? So let's say that this bid came in $3 million, $4 million under the other bids, but yet they may have made an extra $2.5, $3 million by putting a turn lane in there. We don't know.
Golly, Dale, and now it kind of makes you long for the days of $200 hammers and $300 toilet seats. The good old days, as we call them now.
Other than that, things are great, Senator.
Yeah. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
When I was speaking at Little Rock, I said, think about it. A turn lane on a bridge, the guy to my left chuckled. I said, yeah, that's what I did. I laughed. I called my brother and said, you won't believe what? I just crossed the Black Rock Bridge.
Yeah, and I think
it's got a turn lane.
Most people that probably pass it just pay it no attention. I mean, I haven't been across it numerous times, but I've got family that lives in Memphis. My grandfather still lives there, and so I get up there every few months to go see him, and I've driven over it 3 or 4 times and have just never paid attention until the other week you call me. It's like, have you noticed about that turning lane on the bridge in Black Rock?
And you got to laugh on that.
Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, I know there's a new bridge, but I didn't think about a turning lane.
Well, Lieutenant Sam Siemens was coming back, or is he captain now? Well, if not, he needs to be promoted captain. He's coming back from Memphis. He says, I saw Black Rock on that bridge. I said, turn right. Yeah, how'd you know? I said, I crossed it too. Funny.
But I tell you, the infrastructure has greatly improved since my day when I was coming up. I remember some long, at least 4-hour car trips to Memphis with my mom and dad and sister.
Yeah.
And, there was no place to pass.
Oh, I know.
It was 2-lane all the way through Hoxie.
Yep. Oh,
I know. Before the bypass around Hoxie, you actually had to go through.
Yep. Well, we used to live in St. Louis and go to Little Rock, and we'd take Highway 67 out of St. Louis. That's Lindbergh Avenue downtown, you know.
Speaking of St. Louis, what happened to your cards?
Let's change the subject.
You know, I couldn't help but bring that up, Dale.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people doing that. Well, I'm pulling for the Cubs now, and they're choking.
I know. So is you don't know if that Back to the Future prediction of the Cubs winning the series, is that gonna?
Wouldn't it be fun if it was? That'd be so cool. But, you know, they're down, 2-0 Mets, or 3 or something like that. The Mets, come on.
Yeah, I would settle for a Republican winning the White House. If the Cubs can't get the series, I mean.
You know, and people have been on Facebook, Dale, what do you think about the Cardinals being beat by the Cubs? Well, that's baseball. I mean, fine,
happens.
you know, go Cubs, go. Hope you win. But I look at it this way. It's been 107 years. So if they get it out of their system now, don't have to worry about it until 21-22 for the next time, you know. Hey,
so what you're saying is, like, you won't have to worry about it again then.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
But, you know, I think it's good for baseball.
It is.
Maybe not good for Cardinals fans, which there's a lot of in this area, but certainly you got to think that this is good for baseball.
That's what's fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun. So, how you been?
I've been doing well.
You go back and forth to Little Rock a lot?
Yes, sir, I do. And I haven't crossed any I have not crossed any 5-lane bridges on my way down to Little Rock, but my eyes are peeled now.
Yeah.
Have not seen any turning lanes on any bridges.
That's good.
But I'm on the lookout now.
That's good.
No, you know, I woke up this morning in my own bed in Mountain Home, and I looked up and I was like, you know, whenever you start the day off in North Central Arkansas, you know it's going to be a good day. You know it's going to be a good day. And so always happy to be home, move around the district, to be on air with you, which I don't get to do a lot. So I'm happy to be here.
So what do you see coming up in the next 2 years?
Ooh, in the next 2 years.
Back to the future.
Back to the future. Well, you know, some of the things that we're addressing is obviously the healthcare reform. Is, you know, they're looking at that, and I think a good chance that there's a possibility that we might be called into a special session sometime this winter to address some things. We've got the highway funding debate going on, and how we're going to, you know, look to.
Oh, I love the highway funding debate. Well, after I go to Little Rock and see I-40 getting repaved again.
You know, Cantrell,
and that you know, we need the highways, but you know, I was talking with I can't think of the name now, but anyway, truckers in Rogers, Arkansas, that go from Rogers to Jonesboro, I-49 to 40 at Fort Smith, all the way across the state till they get over near West Memphis and grab 49 or 63 or 67 north. They can't come through here; it costs them too much money.
Yeah,
too much shifting.
Yeah, and boy, you know, they've been working on 40 between Little Rock and Memphis for
45
eons.
Years. I don't know that I've ever traveled I-40 between Conway and Little Rock, or I-55 from Memphis to, say, Marion,
and there not be
with one lane ahead or merge over here or something. There's always something going on.
Yeah, you know? that's been one of the longest projects that I can think of, and you know, inevitably I look for any single way if I've got to go to Memphis from Little Rock where I don't have to get on the interstate there.
Yeah,
and there's a couple ways. There's a couple ways
you can sneak around it. Well, you talk about the health care funding, Obamacare. What about the 40-some-odd thousand people that don't have anything to do with Arkansas?
How about that?
Ironically, I had that when Governor Hutchinson was a candidate. I pulled the file. It was recorded May 5th of 14. And I said, what about people? Because Jeremy Hutchinson had said, look, you know, we got people coming from Oklahoma and Missouri, and we have the same. And I know Clay County, Arkansas, and Butler County, Missouri had the same thing, where Butler County's coming into Clay County, you get the free insurance.
Listen,
it said 43,000 people were on our private option exchanges that we're paying for that do not live in Arkansas, and 6,000 or more had no ties to Arkansas, no family, no ties to Arkansas. They just signed up and got it.
You got people that have, you know, that were deceased that are on it. You got people that are incarcerated that are on it. You know, it's a mess. And I think that's evident in Little Rock. I think that's evident to the people across this state. And that's something that, you know, I think when you tackle a project like that, which I was obviously adamantly opposed to, but there's this tendency that you've got to rush. We got to get this done and get this thing through, and then we'll kind of deal with everything on the back end.
Yeah.
And I think that's what frustrates people.
Yeah.
Is the lack of thought on the front end. that might prevent, some of these problems on the back end. If you take your time and you do your due diligence and you really think things through, maybe some of these things could have been prevented.
Yeah.
But this was something that our past governor and legislature were just pushing for,
Yeah.
and they got it through.
Well, at the time when Governor Hutchinson was on, the thought about about people signing up for the exchanges outside the state wasn't a thought. That, well, we haven't even thought of that aspect of it, is what was said.
Yeah.
Now we're having to deal with it.
And we've spent untold millions of dollars dealing with our computer software to do the redetermination eligibility, and we're just about pretty much where we started with that. And most of that's federal money, but federal money is our money.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's just making that circle from our pockets to somebody else's.
At a certain point, and for me as a conservative, it's hard to really, to try to take on a debate where you're talking about winning the debate as we're going to expand entitlement programs, but we're going to do it better. I think as a conservative, what I've always looked at is there's a role for government, and there's something that government needs to stay out of, and I felt that government needs to stay out of our health care, specifically for able-bodied working-aged adults.
Well, what do you think, and being that you're in the healthcare business here, what do you think about these pharmaceuticals where some of these pills are going from like $26 a piece to $800 a piece?
It's unbelievable.
Are they seeing a loophole that we don't see that'll get that paid for through Obamacare? But I mean, look at the insurance premiums that have skyrocketed.
Without getting into every single specific, I would just say that any time that you put insurance into the mix and you put government into the mix, and if you look at our current Medicare and Medicaid programs, once people figure out what the parameters are, there you go.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you get in that car accident.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you go and you get 3 bids. You get a low bid, you get a high bid, and you get the medium bid, and you submit the high bid to your insurance company, and then you go and get the low bid.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with healthcare. And so, when you look at what the average rate of somebody on the private option is costing us, which is, almost $500 a month, Dale, I still pay for my own insurance out of pocket. Didn't go on the state's plan, still have my same policy, and I got the bare bone rungs, that I could get away with, and I'm far from $500. And, these folks have a better policy than what I have. Probably what you have.
I know.
And if government tries to be all things to all people to try to fill every void, what we're going to get is a lot more of what we got, and I don't think people are very happy with what we got.
So what do you think? You think a special session will be coming up in 16?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility. What I really look at is, at this point, we've got the private option through 16, and we'll see what we end up, after 16. I'd like to see it phased out, at the end of 2015. But we are. And so now we've really got to look at how can we eliminate the waste and abuse and fraud that's currently going on.
Wow.
The debate.
So what do we do with the legitimate, honest people that are on it that need it? What are we going to do there?
Well, we got to make sure that legitimate, honest people, we've got Arkansas has the private option, so they're eligible for it. What our focus
if it ends though in 16, what's going to happen after that? Is there going to be a provision to keep those folks on? I mean, is that going to be part of the special session to figure out what to do? Or are we just going to let them turn left off?
You put me right there. You put me right there on the hot seat, Dan.
Oh!
Well, suffice to say that I don't know that Medicaid expansion is going to end in Arkansas at the end of 2016. We shall see.
Yeah. And that may be part of the special session.
That's the hard thing is once the federal government starts throwing the states billions and billions of dollars, boy, it's hard to say no. But people talk about a loss of state rights, of state sovereignty. And, I say a lot of times the feds aren't taking those away. They're buying them. Mm-hmm. So they give us more federal dollars for something. And if they can't constitutionally force the states to do something, what their go-to mechanism is money. They hold the purse strings. Mm-hmm. And I think that Arkansas trying to get even more dependent upon federal money, especially for expanding entitlements to able-bodied working-aged adults, is not the right course for this state.
Yeah, good point. Kind of like the seatbelt law.
Yeah, well, you and I could both go off on a tirade on that. But.
School buses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I get a kick out of these ads on TV. Buckle up for safety, you know. But yeah, there goes that motorcycle guy with no helmet on, and there goes that school bus with 30 kids on the bus with no seatbelts. But
yeah, and you know, again, that was something that this is the previous General Assembly that had passed because there were some federal funding that was coming through, and it was hingent upon Arkansas passing this law. So if there had not been any federal money, that wouldn't have gone
it's all about
through.
the money.
But, you know, that's how we do things.
That brings us up to the news time. Stick around. More with Senator Scott Flippo after this.